Hi, my name is Johanna Colon, and I'm an ELL MLL virtual content specialist for middle school social studies. Today, we're going to be focusing on this teacher facing video for Unit 3, Day 15. The title of this lesson is Open Door Policy in China, and the focus question is how did the United States increase its military strength? The big ideas in this lesson are open door policy, spheres of influence, and foreign policy. The areas of focus are going to be building background knowledge, targeting vocabulary development, increasing access to grade level texts, and using students' home language as a resource. We will be exploring guiding questions, Google Translate, See Think Wonder chart. The lesson objective is to analyze the impact of the open door policy in China and examine the US influence on world affairs at the turn of the 20th century. So, when we're analyzing an impact, we want to know effects, right? So, kind of like how did the open door policy impact China? The great thing about this lesson is that you have a beautiful definition of the spheres of influence. You can actually provide this definition in your students' home language, have them see it, look at it side by side, as well as this here. You can just copy and paste it right into Google Translate. But even better, you have this visual representation of the spheres of influence because students need to understand the historical context behind why John John Hay proposes this open door policy. So here you have the spheres of influence, and the students should see that there are um, different countries that are involved in China. And in order to understand spheres of influence, you want to give them this definition. It is a country or area in which another country has power to affect developments, although it has no formal authority. So, really, these people don't have political power, but they have economic power, right? So they're benefiting from China economically. And here you can read this with your students to kind of contextualize this even further, right? As we move along, there are these introduction or model questions. So, which European power do you think held or had the most influence over Asia? Right? And why? So, really, you're asking them which color has the most territory, and they'll be able to point out, okay, well, it was Britain, right? Which world power is not listed on the map? Why do you think they were missing? You want the students to be able to recognize that the United States had nothing to do here, because that's really what we're trying to get at. We're trying to show the students that the United States did not have influence in China and that they're trying to get a piece of the action as well. And then last but not least, how do you think these spheres of influence affected international trade? And how might they affect world politics and diplomacy? At this point, students should know what diplomacy is, right? So, in terms of diplomacy, they should be able to understand that it's the way that you negotiate or deal with other countries in a peaceful manner, in a way that's not aggressive, right? In a way that you're trying to reach an agreement or get something, you're agreeing to something and to some capacity through negotiation, through talking, right? Um, so of course they should understand what that is. And that's where your KWL chart comes in handy because students know what imperialism is, students know what expansion is, students know what diplomacy is. And as they are exposed to this open door policy in China, they should be able to make the connection. Well, this is a form of imperialism. It's not direct imperialism, right? But it is a way in which you're still exerting your influence or control over another country. And the United States had that privilege at the time because it has a strong military, right? So it can do this. Um, as we move forward, this text here is extremely problematic because of it's old English, okay? And Old English tends to be very problematic for our L's or MLLs. And therefore, it's very important that we provide the proper tools to, gain understanding. Some of the things that you can do are you can copy and paste this right into Rewordify to kind of get the side by side simplified version of the text so students can kind of look at it side by side. Something else that you can do is you can copy and paste it into Google Translate and have it in their home language. Now, when you do that, when you translate a text in their home language, especially when it's something with very sophisticated English, in Romance languages, it tends to be easier to grasp. For example, in Spanish, this is more digestible than the English version. Therefore, that's how that can be very helpful, where the students have it side by side and they can say, oh, well, I understand it in this language, but not really in English, right? So it's very important that you do that. Something else that you can do is you can kind of highlight the really important parts of the text so that students can kind of look at it. And if they're having problems with the vocabulary, they can use vocabulary.com, pop it right in, and get the definition, right? So here we kind of like this is very verbose. So you kind of want to cut to the point, really, right? And here, if we look at the highlights, to remove any cause of irritation or problem, to ensure at the same time to the commerce of all nations in China. We know that during this time period, a select few had the privilege to kind of trade in China, right? They created these spheres of influence. United States doesn't want to be left out. So here you have this proposal, this open door note that's submitted by US Secretary of State John Hay, right? He's saying, yeah, I don't want any problems, but I kind of want to ensure at the same time that everyone's able to trade with China, right? And then he kind of mentions these undoubted benefits that you can receive from this formal recognition. This is a text that you really want to be careful with your students. You can also hit this first, second, and third point, but really the main part here is here, right? And this can take a while. So you really want to focus on this part that kind of explains the purpose of this open door note. In fact, that's one of the questions for the class discussion. What is the purpose? And whenever we ask for purpose, why did John Hay create it or write it, right? What does Hay purpose to do in China? How is this different from previous American foreign policies? What does Hay want to do in China? He just wants to trade. He wants an open door, right? How is this different from previous American foreign policies? They know about Panama Canal. They know about Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Cuba. They have a lot of, that's again, this KWL chart comes in handy. And of course, when the See, Think, Wonder activity can really help with that open door note to help the students. What do you see in the text? What do you think this text is about? And what questions or wonderings do you have? Students might have a lot of questions because that text is wordy, right? And of course, what effect might this proposition have on US influence in the region? So the students are making an inference or prediction. What effect can this suggestion have on US influence in China? That's really what it's asking. So it's important to really include these guiding questions that can really help the students unpack everything that's going on in a simple way. Thank you.